The Greek word used to describe the feeling of Jesus when this leper came kneeling before him in the gospel today, begging him for healing, is splagchnizomai. Our gospel text today says Jesus was moved to pity. But really, splagchnizomai means something much more than pity or compassion or feeling of sorrow with another who is suffering. The ancients thought that the inner organs, the stomach, was the center of human feeling and emotion. Somehow, this word points to the fact that Jesus was moved to the very pit of his stomach. It was a gut-wrench feeling that moved him profoundly. When he saw this leper, he was moved profoundly. His whole being was touched. He felt the pain of this man. He identified, that is the incarnation. He came to become one with us. So he identified totally with the condition of the leper. And in many other passages of the New Testament, we find exactly the same word, splagchnizomai, used to describe how Jesus felt before the pain and suffering of people. For instance, when Jesus saw the many crowds who had followed him in Matthew chapter 14, when he crossed the lake, they followed him because they needed him, because some of them were hungry, some of them were sick. The account said, again, splagchnizomai, Jesus was moved within by the suffering of the people. But then, and that is very important, pity is not enough. Feeling sorry for people is not enough. Splagchnizomai is an active emotion. That is a feeling inside you at the pain and tragedy of another that moves you to do something to help that person. Like the Good Samaritan along the highway that had to help this man who was beaten and was dying. He could have felt pity and passed by. He decided to do something. Like the father of the prodigal son. Again, the same word, splagchnizomai, is used. When the father saw his prodigal child come home, he was moved within him. He was touched profoundly. Emotionally, spiritually, physically, everything. His entire being was touched. And he did something, which is to welcome back his son. Again, we find the example in Mark chapter 6, verse 32, when two blind men came to Jesus. Jesus again had splagchnizomai. He felt real pity for them. He felt pain for them. He identified with their suffering. But he did not stop at that. He restored their sight. In the gospel today, we see that Jesus is touched by everything that happens in our lives. We have a God who feels with us. If I cry, Jesus cries with me. It moves the heart of God to see the tragedy of our human existence, the pain that so many people bear. I don't know about you. Maybe sometimes you feel that God has abandoned you. Maybe sometimes you feel that your pain, your sorrow, and your sickness, even your own personal circumstances, are so bad. God is with you. God feels with you. God is touched profoundly by anything that happens to you. And God's feeling is not like human feeling. Sometimes we see in the news, we see all these tragedies happening around us, even in our family, members of our family who are suffering. and we feel sorry for them. How often do we say that? I really feel sorry for them. But then what do you do? Jesus is feeling sorry. Jesus' pain for our pain did not stop at mere emotional sentiment. Pity is not enough. Jesus did something, and that's why he left heaven to come among us in order to walk the walk with us, in order to bandage our wounds and restore our humanity. We see that clearly in the case of the leper. Jesus breaks all cultural, social, and religious barriers in order to heal this man. Jesus touches the untouchables of this world. My earliest recollection of leprosy was the leper colony that was built in our county. And I remember the lepers lining up the streets. Even today, whenever I pass that place, there is this eerie scene of tragedy, of isolation, of fear, of darkness that still fills my consciousness, even as recently as last December when I was home. The leper colony was a place that many people did not want to go to. The lepers lined the streets begging for alms. How many people today, brothers and sisters, in our world are still treated like lepers? Those who are rejected by us because they are drug addicts, because they have mental health issues, because of their sexuality, because of their past. How many people suffer today because of racial discrimination? Racism stays with us. There are many of us black people who are treated as second-class citizens. How many people living in our continent in Africa, how many people do we discriminate against because of our tribal identity? Because they come from a different tribe. Oh, we don't marry from that tribe. Oh, we don't do business from that ethnic group. Our world today continues to suffer because of these taboos, these stigmas, these discriminatory practices, these social hierarchies that I think only comes from the devil, not from God, because God made us one family. We are all one. When anyone suffers, we all should suffer with that person. We should break down, like Jesus did in the gospel today, the walls that separate us from one another. We should extend healing and loving hand to those who are down and out. We should go beyond these hierarchies, these divisions, these stigmas and taboos that make it impossible for us as humanity to live together and celebrate our common humanity in love. It is very important, brothers and sisters, that we work hard every day to live like Jesus. It's very important, like Mother Teresa said, maybe today we have cured leprosy. You might not find lepers anymore in the leper colony in my county, in my home in Nigeria. But there is one leprosy that we have failed to cure, according to Mother Teresa. And that leprosy is the fact that there are so many of our brothers and sisters today who feel abandoned, who feel unloved, who feel unaccepted, and who feel isolated because of who they are, or because of their personal history, or because of their sex, their sexuality, the color of their skin, or their religion. May Jesus, who healed the leper today, and who reintegrated the leper to society by saying, go to the priest and show yourself, to manifest that you are fully integrated, reintegrated into society, because the Lord has touched you. May God touch you where you feel pain or where you feel isolated. And may our hands, our hearts become open to touching everyone and bringing them into the circle of divine love, so that we can celebrate every day the love of God that makes us one.